Hello my fellow aliens, I'm back with another video, and you might notice I look a little bit different this time. Yeah, I am embracing a lot more androgyny. If you know me in real life or follow my blog and Facebook and stuff, you probably have picked that up by now, but I figured I'd make a video talking about it because I kinda haven't. I mean, technically I did already make a video talking about it, but that was a long time ago and I don't really like how it turned out, so here's a new one. In that previous video that I didn't end up releasing, I talked about all of my previous times coming out as all the different things I've come out as, because there are quite a few. And so, since I'm making a new video, I figured I'd talk about them again. To you it's the first time, but to me it's again. So anyway, let's get into my history. The first time I realized there was such a thing as LGBT, etc., was back in grade 10, which for me was 2012-2013. The first thing I realized I was bi, and I remember being so nervous about telling people, like especially my parents, which is hilarious now thinking back on it. That was the first thing I came out as, and I was pretty happy with that label for quite a while actually, I think. It's a bit hard to remember now because it's been quite a few years, but I think I sort of fluctuated between identifying as bisexual and pansexual because the definitions are really similar, and to this day I kind of group them in together. I'm sorry if you disagree, but that's just my perspective on it. I'm pretty sure in the next year or so was when I started realizing that there was such a thing as asexuality, and I identified with that so much, but like not completely, so I'm fairly certain I started out as saying I was demisexual, but I did more research and I gradually found the term GREY-ASEXUAL, and that's still what I identify as in that regard. But all that is just sexuality stuff, and that's not really what I'm here to talk about. In, it must have been 2014 maybe? I came out as genderqueer, and, well, before I came out as genderqueer, I was gradually shifting my style to more androgynous. I cut my hair short and I started wearing boy clothes. I changed my nickname from the feminine one I had before to a more gender neutral one. So after a little while of toying with just my gender expression as genderqueer and trying to switch to they pronouns, I did come out as fully transgender, and I started using he pronouns, and I changed my name. I started hormones, and that's when I started making videos actually. That worked. That was very fitting for the last few years, but I would periodically get bouts of really intense self-doubt, and I would strongly consider detransitioning, and I actually did for a while, but that didn't feel right either, so I kind of just put those thoughts to the back of my mind so I could just continue being who I was, because, you know, I didn't want to be who I used to be, and I was more comfortable with who I had become, and so it was the more comfortable of the two options, which I thought were my only options. So identifying as male is how I spent the last few years, but this year, and a little bit of last year, but mostly this year, I actually came back to those doubts and thoughts and such, and I spent the last few months actually in the back of my mind trying to figure out who I am, what I feel like I really identify with, and I gradually came to terms with the fact that I don't have to be binary. I don't have to be strictly female or strictly male. I can be somewhere in between or nowhere near, and that's what I am. I've gone back to identifying as genderqueer, except I still use like mostly he pronouns, but I don't really care if people use he, they, she. So that's how I have been recently, and it's just, it feels so much more right than identifying as something binary. And I don't tell most people, like, I don't introduce myself and be like, oh hey, I use they pronouns and you need to get used to that right away. No, I'm not doing that anymore. That was just a nightmare back when I tried to do that. So now I just let people assume whatever pronouns they want to for me, and that's cool. So that is my coming out story, I guess. I hope you found that insightful or interesting or something, or maybe, I don't know, inspired you if you identify as not, or if you are considering identifying as non-binary. It's not as difficult as you might think. Like, for the longest time I thought it would be impossible to get people used to the idea. In regards to most people, that's true. They won't switch, and they don't understand using they as singular or any of the other new pronouns. But you will find some cool people who are willing to learn and adjust and start using they as a gender-neutral pronoun. And even if they don't, you can still identify within yourself as non-binary. You don't have to necessarily explain it to everyone and be fully out with it. It can be something that you just know that you are, and you can be publicly binary if that's easier for you. For me, I'm lucky enough to be in a situation where I can be publicly non-binary. I live in a safe house and a safe kind of area, and I know, like, my school is really safe. By safe, I mean there's a lot of acceptance, and it's very, very minority friendly, and I don't know, I've gotten a really positive experience, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm aware that not everyone has that, and so, I don't know, I just want to encourage you to be as comfortable with who you are as you can be while still being safe. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.